Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest comes to us all the way from Melbourne, Australia, the big man, Josh Lenartowicz. How are you, Josh?
Great, Ron. How are you, mate?
Doing well. I'm getting ready for the Olympia. It's going to be
Yeah,
it's a crazy year for the Olympia. I can't wait.
it's
But
an awesome week. Yeah.
I have not interviewed you since after you won the 2015 San Marino and Ferrigno Legacy shows. We did an article together for MD, and that was, whew, so we're looking at, it's been well over 3 years. So we got a little
Good.
catching up to do, a little bit, just a
Definitely.
little. So
Yeah.
we'll start at 2016 because that was a really good year for you. I remember seeing you at the Arnold Classic, the first show of the season. You looked spectacular, and third place at your first Arnold Classic America. Uh, what were your thoughts when you did that well and you brought that package and everybody was talking about you at that show?
Yeah, I think that was my breakthrough. Having the placings at the Frigno, winning the Frigno and San Marino, and then coming in. Before that, we had actually Kevin Levroni's legacy in
Oh,
Poland.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that was Cedric won that. I got second to Cedric very closely. And that was great because my heritage is Polish. So
Yeah.
that was really cool for me to go and step in front of the crowd. And actually, I've never been to Poland.
Hmm.
So that was in itself great. And then having the Arnold and breaking through there. And then I kind of made a name from that show, I believe. And then coming back to Australia and getting fourth. Justin Compton did really repeated comeback, and he got the third place ahead of me. And Justin's an amazing athlete. I'd love to see him back on stage again.
Hmm.
And then my first Olympia later that year, I got ninth,
Right.
and that was really cool. Top 10 at my first Olympia. And those lineups, that was a really hard lineup that Olympia I was in. So it was really cool. It was a really cool run. Getting
Yeah.
to compete against Kai at the Arnold's, and then feel at the Olympia. It was a really cool feeling. And the Arnold Classic Ohio, it's like you go to step up those stairs to get onto that stage, and they've
Yeah.
called us all up, and Kai was in front of me. And then they're like, stop. And Kai Green was like a foot up in front of me. And, his lower lat hang was just directly in my face. And I was just like, oh, this is like, I need
Wow.
to improve drastically to get there. So that was a
You
cool year.
you were probably one of the last people to compete. If Kai never competes again, he might never
Yeah.
compete again. You
Yeah.
could say you were one of the very last people who got to compete with Kai Green.
Yeah.
And
And that's the hard thing, mate. Like you're doing this Olympia, and, whoever wins is still going to be the Mr. Olympia. But, you haven't got Phil, you haven't got Kai, you haven't got Sean, you haven't got Rami. So four guys who could
mm,
take that first place spot aren't there. So that would be, great to win a show, win an Olympia, whoever wins that. But you're going against, man, was I really the best if those top four didn't do it? But, they're not doing it full stop, I guess.
you think, when Ronnie Coleman won for the first time in '98, he had taken ninth place before, which is
Yeah.
you've done that twice at the
Yeah, I
Olympia,
know,
2 years in a
I
row.
have,
So
yeah. Yeah.
could have been you. That
Like,
could have been you,
I
Mr.
know.
Olympia.
That's it, mate. And that was like after that show, we had that crazy tour. It was like the Olympia, which is a 2-day show. A week later was Spain, was Barcelona, the Arnold.
Yeah.
Thursday was Kuwait, and then Saturday was Prague. And it was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was really hard because you got from this flight from Kuwait to Prague. Basically, we arrived like pretty much around 5 p.m. on Friday in Prague, and we had the athletes meeting, and you couldn't even train. You had a tan on you, and you're in bed for the show in the morning. It's full on those that tour. Like, as soon as I finished, I thought I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
But it
So
was great to try and kind of do the back-to-back contests.
yeah, that's like we talk when Kevin Levroni do a show. Sometimes we talk about those tours, how the
Yeah,
guys now don't get to experience that, but you did. That's exactly what they had to go through with bus,
yeah,
plane, show. They just show
yeah,
up and
yeah,
back to back
yeah,
shows. A Saturday and a Sunday back to back shows in different countries. That's insane.
yeah.
Uh,
It was cool though to see different parts of the world, and so yeah, I got a grasp of what it would have been like for them, which is cool.
right. Hmm, cool. So 2017, you were
Yeah,
getting ready for the Arnold, and what happened? You lost somebody close to you?
yeah. I had my family member, a close family member, in hospital who was on life and death, and they come in and said he wasn't going to make it, and that was like a couple of weeks of doing that. And then I had someone very close to me pass away as well, Craig. So
Same
Craig,
time.
yeah, Craig Murchie. So that was really difficult. Every year's been tough, mate. After the San Marino, I had a good friend, Sean Rankin, pass away. So that was the start of my 2016 prep.
Hmm.
And then that happened in 2017, and then Dallas in 2017, and then I had 2018 off, and then all this stuff's happened to take me out of this Olympia. So it's
Yeah.
been a pretty tough run.
Yeah, you certainly haven't had it all easy. No, not at all. But
No, no.
I'm curious because I've never talked to you about the whole Dallas incident and what happened. I'm not going to get into detail, of course, but you were prepping. You won the Tampa Pro. Giles and I were there. You looked great, and you were training with Dallas at the time, and the plan was to stay there and train. Both of you were training for the Olympia that year. So when all that happened and Dallas unfortunately passed, how long did you stay in Florida? Did you immediately go back to Australia to finish your prep?
No, we had Dallas wasn't doing the Olympia that year. He took it off, and then yeah, that I was staying with him, and there was they had their own gym, so we were training in and out of Flex's gym, which was fantastic, and it was awesome because it's not open to the public, and only a few people can train there. So thanks Flex for letting me train there, and that was a great experience. And then he had their own kind of gym within the apartment complex they were staying, and so I'd go there and do my cardio late of an evening, and it was a great trip, and loved Dallas. I was living with Dallas at the time. I wasn't that close to Dallas as many other people are, but it was still, it was a very close friendship, and I could see it, flourishing and becoming even closer. And it's rare to kind of become close to other professional bodybuilders,
Right.
and so yeah, I left basically for cardio, and everything was fine, and I came back and he was face down, and I thought that he choked because he was young and he was fine and everything was great, and we were training really heavy all that week, and he was doing fantastic. And
I think the videos I think he just posted like an Instagram clip that day, training super heavy on chest or something.
Yeah, he did. And with Florida, I didn't realize they have access to your 911 call, so that got released to the public, and most people who were interested heard what happened there. So yeah, that happened, and I tried to resuscitate him and give him mouth to mouth, and it was just too late. And that was horrible experience, and I felt so horrible for his family and people that were close to him, and I wish that I had found him earlier and hoped that I could have brought him back, and all those things go through my mind, and I'm sure it would have happened to most people. They would have gone through those things, and such a challenging time, and I just had to get through that Olympia. I didn't want to do it, but Matt Jansen put his hand up and said, "Come and stay with me," because I was still staying at his house. And so we kind of wrote it out and did the Olympia together for the end of it. And Matt was his coach, and it was so close. And he just lost his brother that week before.
That's right.
So he had a really hard time as well, and it was basically just holding on to just make it to that Olympia and then have a break. And that's what happened that year. So it hasn't been a good run, mate.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know you almost retired after that Olympia. What was going through your head? Were you just like disillusioned with the sport, or you just, the trauma of going through that whole experience, seeing that firsthand? And Fernie, what was it that really made you want to get out of the sport at that time?
It was a whole combination of things. Why him? And I'm older than him. Why was it him and not me? Even though it's it's a genetic predisposition that he had, and we all have those things. Like I just went through with a tumor in my skull, so it's like we all have different things that we've been having to deal with, and it was that kind of thing in my mind. And he was so loved, and I'm just like trying to get back to family and friends, and because bodybuilding is so consuming, and even if people say it's a very selfish sport, and it's not that it's selfish, it just takes everything from you in order for you to be the best at it. So people perceive it as you're being selfish in life, but I always ask my friends and family if I should be competing. If they ever said don't, they really don't want me to do this show because of whatever reason, I'd be more inclined to listen to them, because family and friends are going to last longer. Not to say that I don't appreciate and love the sport, but they know that I enjoy it, and they wouldn't ever say that to me anyway. I think so. But it just gets a grasp of, I think if you're doing it and blocking everyone out, when it's over, who do you have in your life then? I think that's the hard part with bodybuilding. So there was that, and then, just wanting to be there for my wife and to start a family. And that was the kind of thing I felt. I just felt, like you said, disillusioned with everything, with bodybuilding in general. And It was hard. It was just really tough. So 2018 was a really hard time that I just took off and mentally needed a break, just to kind of
Okay.
get just to get my love for training again. Because if you don't love it, it's very hard to do something. If it's not pulling you towards it, if you're kind of pushing towards it, it's very very hard to go over and above your previous performance.
Right. So training is something you obviously love. I mean, your name was King of the Gym. You just recently changed your social. Your socials are all just your name now. They're not King of the Gym anymore, right?
Yeah, that's it. Just my name. Yeah.
Josh _ Lenartowicz, because King of the
Yeah.
Gym. That King of the Gym could be anybody. Anybody could say I'm King of the Gym. It'd be hard to find you. But
Yeah. I've
love.
always loved training.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
since 14. My older brother was in bodybuilding, not just training, not competing, and I just wanted to get closer to him, and I started training, and I loved it, and it's something that I found that I was good at, and I applied myself towards it. I didn't really apply myself to much else, and I could see the benefit all the time. It wasn't something that was repetitive, and there wasn't a result out of it. There was always a result from putting the hard work in, that you could see week to week or month to month at that point when I was younger. And I competed a lot in another federation, and I was second in the world. It was called the International Natural Bodybuilding Association.
INBF,
Yeah, that's
natural
it. Yeah,
natural
so
organization.
yeah, that's it. So I did that and took it as far as I could, and then when I was 30, I started getting ready for the IFBB
Wow.
Pro League. So it was try to max out my genetic potential as much as I could.
Yeah, well, you certainly did a great job. But
Thanks. Yeah,
I'm
thank
just
you.
I'm curious because I think in 2018 you never missed training. You never stopped training, right? Even though
No, I still
you walked away
train.
from
Yeah.
competing.
Yeah, I always kind of have a week off every kind of training cycle. So I'd have like 8 to 12 weeks, and I'd have a week off, and I'd do that, regularly.
I mean, I'm
Just
talking about 2018 when we
yeah,
thought we were never going to see you
no,
again on
no, I
stage,
was
but
still training. Yeah, I was still training, and it was just more, from 5 or 6 days a week to like 3 days a week. I'd kind of pull it back a little bit, um, but I just wanted to get back to training really heavy. I just loved that challenge,
yeah.
and that's really what made me fall back in love with it.
So how did you get the the spark to say, okay, I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to compete again?
Yeah, I think just at the end of 2018. So my wife fell pregnant, and I was just in a good place mentally, and I thought, I think I really want to do this again. Training was great again, and I was really strong, and I was just eating and training, and I thought, this is going to be a really great prep. I thought it was going to be my best prep. I was telling people I thought I was actually going to win the Arnold, and that did not happen by a long shot.
Well,
But hey,
if you're not trained to win, what are you training for?
for
Last
sure.
place?
Yeah, exactly. Spot on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that Arnold, it wasn't the best condition I've ever seen you in, but
No.
you as a lot of guys do, you put it together a couple weeks. Well, I think the Australia show was a week or 2 weeks later after that.
Yeah. That was
You
good.
sharpened
Yep.
up considerably and got fourth there.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
didn't. You know
curious.
what?
Hmm.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say at the Arnold, you got the best poser award, which is not easy because there's some guys up there that put some work into it.
Yeah.
Especially your size. You're competing at like 280 or something.
Yeah, it was 280 morning of the contest. That was my biggest. And I did all the wrong things with prep that looking back now, I see the issue that hopefully won't happen again. So there was a few things that I was missing in my prep that I'd normally have. I wasn't doing any photos. I was just trusting the plan. I was trusting the process, and I laid it all out, and these are my calories, and I was just coaching myself, and I thought this is going to be great, and it was tracking that way. But it's different when you've had a year off, and then it was almost a year and a half, and then you step in front of a great lineup, and you see the difference. You're like, man, I'm just out of condition of competing, even though it wasn't that long ago. I just was not keeping my standards as high as I should have, basically.
Had you been working with a coach for your other shows, the last few shows
Chad,
before that?
I had Chad in before I turned pro, and for 2014, start of 15, and then San Marino Frigno I did myself, but it was still with the foundation of what Chad had developed, and then 2016's Olympia I hooked up with Chad, probably about 6 weeks before it. But Chad's great. I was more the the bitchy one in prep. I felt like I needed someone to be like always there, and Chad's kind of like do the work and then message me back, and then I'll tell you when I need to change it. And I was at that time I was like, the rookie in bodybuilding, that I'm like, I need someone like to be there, all the time. That's what I love with Matt and Dallas. He was like, they were always kind of together. And I admired that. And so I had that with Chad, and I even said it to him, I was the bitch, man. Like I thought he was kind of distant, but that's just his plan. Like it's how he coaches. So he's a good coach. Yeah.
Did you work with anybody this year? Because you looked really good at especially the show in Spain.
Yeah, well, I had the Arnold Australia. I had so sorry, I had so I didn't for the Arnold Ohio, and then George Farah I hooked up with for like 10 days before. Yeah, so he was great. He pushed me. He don't get me wrong, he was really good, but I thought I would just, I didn't want to lock in with the coach indefinitely. I want to see what was kind of out there. And then in for Spain, the last week, Patrick was there.
Oh, okay.
And Patrick Tour, and love him. We just got along fantastic, and that's it. Now I want to kind of work with him for a while. It's really hard, man. As I'm very much a control freak, and I love to do things myself. But I'm at that level where I feel like I need more guidance and more knowledge, especially with the placing I got at the Arnold in Ohio. It wasn't great, so I never want to feel like that again. And I know having a great coach to keep me, accountable, and a reality check more than anything. And man, there's a lot of great coaches out there. It's just a matter of what sort of fits well. Yeah. You understand that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had Patrick. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's been on. He's a good friend of Giles. He's been on Global Muscle many times now. I've met him in person. He's really he's got a very sensible style with the athletes. Very common sense approach.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the best poser thing. Did you put a lot of work into that? Because that's.
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer that.
No, it's okay.
I did. No, I did massively. Yeah. There's a guy here, Craig Lucas, and he's like die-hard fan of bodybuilding, and he's a posing coach, and he was great. I hooked up with him, and I know he was great at putting routines together. I've had Johnny Barlos just with mandatory poses and stuff. Anyone who comes to Doherty's would have seen Johnny, at Tony's shows. Johnny's always there helping backstage and stuff. So most of the pros know who Johnny is. He's always been amazing. I still love Johnny. Just the routine. I've seen him put great routines together. And even before the posing award was going to be given out, the Ed Corney Award, we were already working on it before that. So that was something I put way more time into than anything else, was just the routine, practicing. And that's why I was confused with the show. It was like I was doing sometimes 3 hours of cardio and posing a lot, and there was a lot of expenditure. But there was things I know looking back that just should have been better in my prep. So next time it won't happen, hopefully.
There's nobody that's peaked every single time. Nobody.
Yeah.
I've even seen Dexter a little bit off at times, believe me.
Yeah.
It's with him, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, what most people know in Australia, it's one of the hardest. Well, I think it's one of the hardest countries for pro bodybuilding anyway. There's other hard countries, but in terms of like what you have in America and England and Europe, and
enlighten us, because I'm not really aware of extra challenges that you would face over there.
Oh, we're like an island, man. So I mean, if you come over here, it's like you have you been to Australia?
I have not. My daughter is married. We have an Australian in my house right now. He's from Sydney. He's been here for 4 years. Really? He's married to my daughter, but they've been over there twice. We keep saying we're going to go over there. We haven't been, but yeah.
Okay.
Seems like a nice place.
No, it is, but it's just an island, and you know how things that are inaccessible to us are accessible to things in America and Europe and UK. So I mean, it's harder here. Tutka, the supplement in itself, is illegal here. Whereas you can buy it off the shelf in America. Like, so that just gives you an example. Wow. And then you take the spectrum wider, and it's impossible sometimes.
I remember hearing like a jug of whey protein that would cost me like $30, $25 would cost you like $80 or $90 over there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you put it back to like a liter of petrol in your price would be maybe 40 cents, I think, and it's like $1.60 or $1.70 here. So even for petrol and driving around, it's even harder, and food's even more expensive. And just It's just a big challenge here. It's for a decent house. It's like nearly $1 million, 800,000 to $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, Australia's very hard. People don't
What the
realize
hell?
it's tough. Yeah, I mean, you can still get houses and stuff, and lower your expectation of what you'd want for a house. But to get something which is nice to raise a family in, and especially now, it's really hard. Prices have gone up. They've dropped slightly, but it's still very hard.
Is this all over Australia? It's like that, or just
Well,
like
mostly
certain?
Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, main places, and then
Yeah.
Perth has dropped a bit just recently. So the main cities in Australia are all pretty hard.
Wow.
Yeah,
It sounds a lot like Hawaii in the U.S. Hawaii's crazy expensive cost of living.
yeah,
Same
yeah,
thing. They're out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of Pacific, just like you guys.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. Well, everything has to be close to basically the water. I mean, there's nothing inland. It's all desert normally in Australia, or there's you're trying to be a bodybuilder inland somewhere, impossible.
I mean, we've all seen the Mad Max movies, and that's
Yeah, what
they're,
milk? Living on milk.
they're chasing across, they're racing each other across the desert for days, and it's
Yeah.
just there's nothing. It's just a wasteland.
Yeah. Well, you got to come, mate. If you got an Aussie there in your house, you have to come.
Well, they keep saying they're going to do a real wedding. They did a real quick wedding a little over 3 years ago, and they're supposed to do the real wedding in Sydney. I'm still
Okay.
waiting to see that. Yeah, that'll be my
No.
excuse. All right,
Yeah.
so that brings us up to this year. So you was it June was the show, the Big Man Weekend show in Spain? June or July?
Nah, yeah, April 27.
Oh, okay.
April 28. Sorry, that's my wife's birthday.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
won that. You won that. You
Yeah.
got your Olympia qualification. I assume you started your Olympia prep up again June or so?
Well, we traveled around Europe a little bit because, we're expecting a kid and thought we'll get around, do this Europe trip before having a kid, which makes it a lot harder.
Oh,
And then
dude.
see a little bit of the UK. Yeah, a little bit of the UK. And then I got back to Australia, and then I started prep. And it was going great. I worked with Patrick, and I had a little slow start, but then the wheels were turning, and I was starting to go well. And then I started getting these headaches, and I never get headaches. And I thought something's wrong here. And there was a slight little lump on my head, but I only realized recently that I'm allergic to eggs, and I normally get this kind of raised forehead or rash. And I thought it was just maybe that. And then because I was, on holidays before that, eating eggs every day, it kind of was a bit dominant. And I thought maybe it's just the headaches from that. I went to see a GP, a doctor here, and he just said have some aspirin and maybe see a dermatologist. And I went home, and I couldn't sleep. Like, the headaches were that bad. It was a constant headache. And I went back the next day, and I said, nah, man, I want to scan. Like, I know my body, I get all my testing done so regular. Like, he thinks that I'm too obsessive with it. But, man, when you're over 100 kilograms or 220 pounds, you want to get all your testing done all the time to make sure everything's okay.
You are well over that weight.
And I'm well over. That's right. I'm always near around 300, and I'm like, I don't understand why he's concerned that I'm concerned to getting all my testing done, because I thought he'd be happy for that. And anyway, I went back and said I want to scan, and he said, all right, we can rule it out. And then the scan comes back, and it said I have a tumor, and to have an MRI and to see a neurosurgeon. And he's kind of like, oh, that's a bit much. And I was like, what? Yeah, I'm like, man, if it was your head, you would be. And he's like, we'll get the MRI and rule it out. And I'm like, no, I'm going to book in with a neurosurgeon, because things are very hard to book in. There's a waiting time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And luckily, I'm running a show in WA. Tony's made me the promoter there. And a guy competed that's a neurosurgeon. I just asked him, hey, do you know anyone in Melbourne who's a neurosurgeon? And he's like, oh, I can help you out. I said, well, it's actually me. And I gave him the referral, the letters that they gave me at the scan to look up. And he looked it up, and he said, I know exactly what that kind of tumor would be. It's benign. It's not cancerous. And he asked if I'd had anything in my family. And I said, yeah, my middle brother 20 years ago, who doesn't train, who doesn't lift weights, he had that kind of a tumor. And he said that would most likely be it. And not to worry, it should be okay. And put me on with the surgeon. Did the surgery. He rushed me through. He said,
hold on, how many weeks out from the Olympia is all this happening?
It was like 10 weeks out, just sort of over 10 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there was, but it was only, he's like, we'll do the surgery. You won't be able to train heavy for a couple of days, but you'll be able to do cardio, and then you'll be able to train a bit heavy the next week, and then you'll be back to, week 3 after surgery, you'll be able to go heavy again. And it was like, just do kind of high reps and mix it up. And I'm like, that's kind of pretty cool for me anyway. Change my training style. So I was finding a way around it. And what was going to be a 90-minute surgery, I ended up waking up like eight days later
Wow.
And my wife's like, "You've been in a coma," and I said, "What?" And I was just shocked. And I said, "Have you had the baby yet?" And she's like, "No." And I was just like, "What's happened?" And she's like, "Been in a coma." And I'm like, "Are you gonna have the baby here?" And she's like, "If I have to, because it was any time."
Yeah.
And then
What
yeah,
timing?
mind blowing. I know, like, and yeah, that was just so confusing. And she said that I had a seizure after the operation, which I found out with other neurosurgeons isn't uncommon.
Yeah.
But it does happen. And because I had meningitis when I was younger, he thought maybe my
Yeah.
brain was a bit more susceptible to have overstimulation, and I maybe had a seizure from that. So because I had a seizure after the surgery, they ended up, putting me asleep then. And then they said the next day they were going to wake me up. So, worrying for my wife and my family. My mum, who was an ICU nurse, she's kind of like, they're good at what they do, don't worry. And then the next morning they came back for me to be woken up, and they tried to, and instead of waking me up, what happened was they didn't use this thing called a nasal gastric tube, which should clear out your stomach and your airways.
Hmm.
And so what happened was, because I was already fasted for the surgery, they didn't think I had to. But looking back at it, someone my size, you'd think things would be broken down in the body faster than other people, and maybe it would have just been a smart choice to do that.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. And I've got a lot of respect for nurses. They have a very hard job. So yeah, they said I went blue, and they had to resuscitate me, even though my heart was going, but they needed to make sure I was breathing. And then then they put the cord back in, and this kept me passed out or in a coma for a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was so crazy.
So you were out for 8. You woke up 8 days after you went in for the surgery.
Yeah. And then what also happened is, they told me that I'm not going to be able to walk for a couple of days because I've been lying down. I had that head surgery, which, even after the next day, they said walking might be a challenge. Sorry, that night walking might be a little challenge, but then it should be okay. But because I was, bombed out for over a week, they said, you might not be able to walk for a few days. And that was so confusing because, they got me out to stand up, and I was trying to stand up, and I'm like, "Yep, I'm up." And they're like, "No, you're not." Damn. So that was more mind blowing because even just before I went in, I had this amazing workout because it's leading up to Olympia. I was doing a really hard leg workout, go in, and then I fasted from lunchtime, and so for having a huge leg session to then even not being able to walk was just so, yeah, especially like your mindset when you prep has to be so on, and to have that mental state, being woken up like you're not going to do the Olympia now, and that. But then the neurosurgeon was like, "I still think you can do the Olympia," and the one from Perth was like that as well. So I'm like, well, they know the brain more than anyone, and I should be okay. But man, because I had a seizure, they had me on these things. It's called Keppra. It's like a seizure medication. And asking different neurosurgeons, they wouldn't have put me on it at all. It's just this guy's his policy that in case it happened, he wasn't going to be to blame, and I wouldn't have a seizure. So, but man, the side effects from that was like way, like worse than anything I've experienced. The coma I was out for, so I, didn't know what happened there, but to have to deal with, it was like shaking and down all the time, and not being able to do much energy wise. Going from someone being hugely energetic, ready for a show, to then this medication making you tired, and then having endone, which makes you tired as well. I was just, I'm trying to get ready for this Olympia afterwards, getting back into my motions, and it was just like, flogging a dead horse. It was like I couldn't do it. So, yeah, I was like, I'll try and get ready, and then because of the medication, it was like I just couldn't do it, unfortunately. And it wasn't a good choice anyway, really. It was just, this Olympia is not going to be as challenging, and at least I'll still, do the show. And although, I was wanting to go really well and place, or win possibly, even though it's so hard, it didn't happen, to even get to the show. Which was a smart choice because I'm not someone who just wants to make numbers up. I want to go in there and do my absolute best. So,
well,
yeah,
let me ask you this, because a lot of guys have commented, it's not the best lineup for the Olympia we've ever had, because we lost.
Yeah.
As we're speaking now, we just found out Nathan DeAsha just pulled out, so we've already got no Phil, no Rami, no Sean, obviously no Kai. But at the same time, if you could have taken maybe 5th or 6th, I mean, that's still top 5 or 6 the Olympia. I mean, are we gonna blast whoever wins the Olympia saying, "Oh, it was a weak year, you got lucky because so and so wasn't here"? I mean, you have no control over who shows up at the Olympia or the Arnold or any show. You're up, you stand up there with whoever shows up that day to compete. And if you win, you're the winner, regardless.
Yeah.
It's not a hollow victory. I'm just throwing that out there because I can
and,
already hear this talk
yeah.
immediately after this Olympia. I know we're going to start hearing
Don't get
that.
me wrong, that was on my mind, like to still do it, and I still wanted to go in and do quite well, but then it was like, what if, because of the medication that I've been on, what if it made me worse, pushing myself even harder? And that was one thing I got across to the neurosurgeon who was seeing me, was like, most people don't understand how hard bodybuilding is and how hard you have to sacrifice, most of the things around you and run at a deficit all the time. It's not like, majority of other competitions where you train and then you reload with calories to re-energize. It's like you're always at that deficit every day and you're pushing it harder and harder, whether it be the gym or cardio or posing, at a deficit. You're not ever really energetic in the contest prep. And that was the hard thing. I thought, man, what if, because of this medication, and then what if I have a seizure, because they put that in my mind that, if you're not on the medication, you have a seizure. And I was like, I'm not taking that shit, basically. Like, I'm already, it's making me worse. So that's kind of how I was. But then it was on my mind, like, man, what if I push it too hard and something does happen? And, when I did get myself back into training, consistently, I'd get these crazy headaches still from the surgery, and it would just take me out for a day or two. And so I'm like, I can't compete like that if I'm, prepping every day and then I'm having a day where, even the muscle to contract your jaw was just where the pain is from the surgery was just killing me. So I couldn't really eat for most of the day either. And I'm like, you can't do that as a bodybuilder. So that was kind of that was the negative part.
So you were
And
getting like that's almost like TMJ, that lockjaw where the maxo filler.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like there's the scar there.
It's all connected to the jaw. I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And going in from eating every 2 or 3 hours and eating a lot of calories, so then I wasn't hungry, from the medication out of the coma, and they were bringing me food, and I'm like, it was nice food to eat, and I didn't want to touch it. I was just like, no appetite, no anything, and I was full so quickly, and I went in like at this heavy weight, and then I weighed myself, would have been like 2 weeks after the surgery when I could walk again, where they had scales, and I was like 120, which is like nearly my contest weight. So that's like, what is it, 245, 220, 265 pounds. So
you lost about 25 pounds in that ordeal?
So I was 136 or 38 leading into it. Then I had the surgery, and then I was like, 16 kilos down, 18 kilos down. Yeah, it was. I read that somewhere anyway, out of like even before it, years ago. I found it was like, if you're in a coma for even like, I think over 72 hours, you lose a certain percentage of your body mass anyway.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of the example. What's going to happen when you start bodybuilding? It's going to go to fat. It's like it doesn't. It just disappears.
Yeah,
if you're not stimulating it, it just goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think, but if you stop training now and you start eating like a normal person, it would take a long time to lose all that mass, but eventually, someday, you would revert back to the way you looked before you started training, more or less, I would imagine.
Sure.
I think everybody would.
Definitely. Like, your body doesn't want to hold a lot of muscle. It wants to be functional and agile and fight off infections and all that stuff. Like, that's the goal of the body. It's not to, be huge and hold all this muscle everywhere. Yeah. So, it's not like the primary objective for the body to have. It's just, that'd be one of the quickest things to go. Someone of, our size competing, for sure.
I wanted to ask you because, you went because of the Dallas thing, and you've seen, do you have a different awareness or a different point of view as far as health and longevity, where other guys might have, this whole seizure thing, everything that you just went through, there are other guys who have said, F it, I'm doing the Olympia. I got it. I'm doing the Olympia. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they would just not worry about it. You seem like you're a lot more conscious of that.
For sure. I could have just brushed that off and gone, screw it, I'll deal with it after the Olympia, and just go hardcore with it. But I'm like, man, I'm not going to do that. Like, it's, there's no point. If it's going to do something to, kill you for one, or restrict your career anyway, it's like, well, I'm in it for the long term. And if there's something that's going to set me back, that's a sign for me to stop. And that's why I always get my testing done regularly. And even in hospital, and even the neurosurgeon, I'm like, is this bodybuilding related with the tumor? And people, no, it's not bodybuilding related. And then even after I was in was it bodybuilding related? No, it's not bodybuilding related. I'm like, well, what causes tumors? And they're like, we don't know. And I'm like, well, did the muscle mass I have hurt? And they're like, well, it would have sped up because of your metabolism. And and they said, like, if a couple more weeks had gone by, it would have been in your brain, because it wasn't in my brain, it was just in my skull.
Wow.
So I'm lucky I, got it looked at straight away, and didn't try and, be hardcore with it.
Have you
Because
changed your
have you
changed your doctor? Because that doctor sucks. The guy
Yeah,
that
I
told
have.
you.
And you know what the worst thing was? Like, they wouldn't endone, which someone my size, I just needed a lot. And the neurosurgeon was like, "Oh, you're having too much of it." And I'm like, "Well, in hospital, look at what they were giving me. It wasn't even sort of affecting me much. I was still in a lot of pain." And then he's like, "Well, we need you to see your GP for prescriptions, because in Australia, you're only allowed one box, which is 20 tablets." And I wasn't going back to that guy. And because I'm like, man, he was just going to send me to a dermatologist, and I would have been dead. So I was like, no, I'm not seeing them. And then I can't go to a new GP and ask him for that kind of prescription medication. It would just be
What is it called? Because I don't want to mess this up. What's it called?
Endone.
Endone.
It's like oxycodone.
Oh, okay. It's a painkiller.
Yeah,
okay.
The painkiller. It's like one of the strongest painkillers you can get. So yeah, that was pretty annoying. So.
Okay, so you had all this bad news, but then you had something amazing happen. August 3rd, you became a father for the first time. William Jordan was born.
Yeah,
and it was literally right after this all happened to you, your son was born?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was cool. It was August 2nd, sorry, because it was the night before. Okay. I posted it the next day, but yeah, it was so I was basically out of that hospital. There was a couple of days at home, and then my wife went into labor, so took her into hospital, and she had like this 26-hour labor, and she was amazing. Wow. And from what she just had to deal with every day, coming into hospital to see me, going, being in a coma, and not knowing what's going to happen, and then incredible woman. So to have that, and then to go through all that pain, giving birth, and did it all. Didn't take any pain medication, and it was incredible. So amazing woman.
Props to your wife, Lizzie, because she had to watch her husband in a coma for 8 days.
Yeah.
And she was a week away from a couple weeks away from giving birth. Wow.
I know, amazing. So two huge life experiences in a month, basically.
Yeah.
So, amazing, man. Kids are so cool. It's we've got, as guys, we're just in the back seat trying to help out where we can. They do almost everything. We're just trying to help out what we can do.
Did you watch the delivery?
I did, yeah. I said I would never, and then because it was just incredible, the whole experience, and her being in so much pain, and I'm like, I was just so interested. Yeah, so I watched her give birth, watched everything happen, and it's not like the movies, man, where everyone's like, it comes out, and it was just like the baby's blue. I never realized it was going to be a different color until it gets oxygen, and so it's like, wow, it's totally different. It wasn't crying. It was just, I'm like, I thought they come out screaming, and they're already the color based on what Hollywood tells me, which is a lie. And so incredible experience. Yeah, I definitely want more.
So it's probably for the best. Looking, this all just happened like a month ago, but still, I mean, would you really have wanted to be in prep for the Olympia and then travel to the US and everything with a 1-month-old baby at home, a newborn?
No, we had that planned. I was going to be in Vegas already like a week and a half ago. And we weren't going to bring the baby because at the time, it hasn't had all those vaccinations yet. So Liz wasn't going to come, and but it would have definitely made it so much more challenging and harder, and put maybe a damper on it. But incredible experience overall. But you're right, like being I've got to go do my cardio now. While she's in hospital, I'm like, you can't do that. Can't do that when she's in labor. It's like, you're in labor, but I've got to do my cardio. Yeah. It's like, you got to be there for your family, otherwise,
so
be there for you.
This Olympia, you qualified, but it wasn't meant to be,
No,
clearly.
It's frustrating. And, I saw the special invite to Cedric, and I was thinking, man, maybe I should try and get one with all the crap I've been through, but, I'd still rather earn it. It's tough. Like, I definitely am shattered on missing the Olympia for sure, but hopefully next year.
Well, you're coming to watch. You're coming out to watch,
I'm
right?
definitely, Black Skull's bringing me over. They're awesome. Yeah, they've been great. And that was another thing, I only just signed up with them, and then this all happened. And so I was just feeling horrible all over. Like, man, I'm here to add value to a company, and they've been awesome to me. And I'm like, I just felt bad for everyone, for my fans, for my other sponsors, especially for my wife. And it's hard to deal with, but that's life, man. There's never an easy path. You don't catch green lights all the way to to work every day. There's always a stop, and it's just hard because it would have been great to try to get over this adversity and still compete. Would have been a really cool testimony, but at the same time, it's like I'm not stupid. I don't want to hurt myself, and I know that there's going to be next year and the year after, and I'm hoping that I can just keep on improving and I'll get better.
You have, now that you're a dad, it's not just your life anymore. Now you have someone they need you around for a long time. 18 years. Yeah. We always say 18 years here in the U.S.
Yeah, they don't need you after 18 years.
They're an adult, right? Theoretically. They're supposed to be able to take care of themselves. It doesn't always work out that way. But
that's true.
So where do you go from here? Are you thinking about maybe the Arnold again?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I want to do the Arnold. So yeah, we have that Arnold Australia, Arnold Brazil. And hopefully I can get to the Olympia by that, and then have the Olympia, and I don't know when that new show's coming. That sounds pretty fun, but yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, okay.
all the hype about it's been interesting. I don't know.
I find it hilarious that not one thing has ever been said officially about it by anybody.
Yeah, that's true. Well, even me, like I did this. Me and Tony spoke about what happened. I thought people need to know because there was rumors like my kidneys have shut down or my liver's gone or whatever. When you're a big dude, it's like it's easy to pick on someone when they're not around. When you're in their face, I won't say anything. But it's like people just say garbage. And then even doing the video, I don't have cancer. It was a tumor. It wasn't in my brain. They removed it. And then all this stuff happened in the recovery, which is unfortunate. And it's gone from that to even now still I have things tagged in my social media, which is like Josh had cancer and then he fell into a coma because of it. And that's how we knew. And yeah, it was like, and then he had deep brain surgery. I'm like, man, how the hell do they get all this stuff messed up even directly after the facts have been put out? So even trying to give out knowledge, it's like
you're just trying to cover up the truth. That's what they were thinking.
I know. Yeah. Something big's going on. Yeah. Wow. But you're right, man. The Olympias, it's still going to be fun because it's a great Olympia. But still going to be fun because it's a great Olympia anyway, and the placings and seeing how. Some of the people who have won it prior aren't there. I wonder how that's going to impact other people's, prep leading into it, and if they might just be more fired up and have gone harder in their prep and being stricter than normal, because that can happen also.
Anybody who's slacking because the Olympia is supposedly easier is a moron, because this is a golden opportunity for somebody who maybe had a tough time breaking the top 6 or 7. Everybody's automatically moving up now because we have a lot of the top guys just gone.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You would think everyone would be really putting out 110% effort because this is your chance. This is it. You're never going to get this chance again. Phil's going to be back next year. Sean might probably be back next year. Rami will be back next year. There might be some crazy new people we don't even know about yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything.
Who do you have for first?
Brandon Curry.
Second.
Rolly Winkler.
Who's top 5? So Brandon.
All right, well, Rolly. You got to do yours after me. So Brandon, Rolly, Dexter, William, Sando.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, that's a good one. Man, the 3 I could mix around, whether it be Rolly coming in really hard and dry, Brandon and William. I feel like those 3 could flick around based on just a percentage of dryness or fullness, and I think Rolly's just got so much muscle over everyone that if he come in separated and complete, it'd be very hard to beat. Yeah. But then that's a huge risk as well, because you see Brendan and William have been very consistent at the last few shows. And then I'd put Dexter, then Cedric or Hardy. And
forgot about Hardy.
Yeah, so it's tough. Luke's made some phenomenal improvements, definitely. I'm still, I'm a fan of, most of the bodybuilders. So I'm just a diehard bodybuilding fan, full stop. So it's like, that top 5 is going to be very interesting, and then from 5th to 10th, it's going to be really interesting as well. It'd be cool for Luke coming in and taking it and coming out, in really good placing. That'd be cool too. So I just think based on prior and people's conditioning, and even Cedric's a risk, but sometimes when he brings it, incredible physique.
I didn't mention Cedric either.
He bet Hardy in the San Marino. I remember it was Cedric, Hardy, and then Brendan.
Yeah,
but I think Brendan has faded a bit from the other shows. So. Yeah, but Cedric, and that's what I wonder as well. Like you see how Ronnie Coleman didn't have anything from prior years, and then Doreen retired, and then Ronnie come out and just destroyed everyone. And I'm like, well, I wonder if that's going to impact Cedric in a positive way, or if it's going to push him, negatively, and he's going to look worse for it. So
if we go by that
hit and
ninth
miss.
place thing again, he was ninth place last year,
Well, there you go. Hey,
so
maybe
he could win.
what's going
I
on.
mean,
Yeah, that's
I've,
true.
al- I've always said Cedric. If Cedric ever showed up in the most
Yeah.
ridiculous, nasty, dry, grainy condition, there's
Yeah.
That's Mr. Olympia. I love that guy's
Yeah.
physique.
Yeah,
An
incredible
amazing
physique.
physique.
He does. Yeah, we all admire it, definitely.
Nice.
But it's just hit and miss, isn't it? It's not like a William who's been coming out all the time, so consistent. You know,
Yeah,
it's
Cedric.
like
Cedric, you
you
never
get.
know you never know which Cedric you're gonna get.
Yeah, I told him that when he did Australia. I'm like, man, why did you come to my home country and bring it? You should have just faded like another show. Yeah. He's laughed.
He's one of those like Rolly, one of these guys that usually gets better as the shows goes on. He figures out what he was doing wrong, or I don't know. The extra week or two seems to help those guys. Other guys fade. It's an odd thing. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Cool.
That's true.
So, can people see you at the Black Skull booth at this Olympia if they want to? Hopefully,
no, we don't have a booth this year. But I'm going to be there for sure with them, and I'll be around. I'll be around the whole weekend. I definitely want to watch the amateurs, and the press conference would be cool as well. And just seeing the Olympia. I've actually never ever been to the Olympia before, so
to watch.
First time was to watch. First time, was just to compete, but to actually sit there and watch, it's going to be pretty fun. And it's going to stab me a lot. It's going to hurt a lot not being on stage when I should be. Yeah. But
it's going to fire you up too. I'm sure you're going to be ready to rock after that.
Yeah. Well, it's been hard what I've been through. You know, I'm not going to lie. Become pessimistic and down about everything, and then I'm getting back to it now, which is good. Getting back to my old self.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, before we go, any people, you must have some people to thank, people that have been very helpful
always,
this year.
Yeah, always my family and my friends. And, they're always the ones, my wife, Liz, my mum. They're amazing. They're always, helping me out. And people I can always rely on, Tony Doherty, he's always been there. And yeah, remember when I was younger and I'd competed in the INBA and I was showing him photos and he was just kind of, meh, he sees all the biggest dudes in the world. He's like, well, when you come over to our show, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. Yeah. So, Tony's a legend. So Doherty's Gym, they sponsored me first. Fitness Meals. So Iron Tanks is amazing as well. They've been really great support lately as well. Black Skull has been awesome too, and Explosive 8. They always sponsor the Strongman. So I've got a really good team around me. So it's cool now. What was once extremely hard, and I'd be working 2 jobs, and trying to train, to have those kind of people who are, helping, being beside me. It's been amazing.
Cool. All right. I want to let everyone know Josh is going to be on the cover of the November issue of Muscular Development.
Oh, that's awesome.
Finally. I've been waiting for this cover.
Really cool. Thank you.
Shot this back at the Arnold back in March, I believe.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the images, but Steve Bleckman says incredible. It's a great shot. Good. I'll send you a secret sneak preview if you promise not to post it or anything.
I will not. Man, that was the hardest thing when, Arnold came out to give me my award. And when you're not in shape, you just want the floor to swallow you up. And he's like, hit 5 poses. I was just like, hit 1. And he's like, that's not 5. And I'm like, damn it. He's like, not letting me off. Do this pose. Yeah. When you're not in shape and you want to be, it's a really crap feeling on stage. So, yeah, but I hope those photos are good for March because that was right then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right, so that's a November issue of Muscular Development. Oh, yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you working with me because I know you got a newborn baby at home, and we're dealing with it's late at night over there already, and you got to pack, you got to get the heck out of there and just get flying over to the U.S. to get to the Olympia. Yeah. So appreciate you taking. Yeah,
thank you.
That's one thing I don't about. If I ever do go to Australia, that's the flight. I'll probably have to knock myself out or something, so it's not.
Yeah, well, hopefully come for the Arnolds one time, mate. That'd be great.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
All right. And everybody, please follow Josh on Instagram at Josh_Lenartowicz. Facebook, also Josh Lenartowicz. Do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
Yeah, I do. It's my name as well. Yeah.
Josh Lenartowicz on YouTube. Check out some videos there.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for watching Ronline Report with Josh Lenartowicz, and we'll see you next time.